Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Europol's headquarters in The Hague. Welcome to the journalists attending today's press conference. Welcome also to those that are following us via the live stream, wherever you might be in Europe and on this planet. Also, very warm welcome to our international partners from the United States, from Germany, Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, Bulgaria, as well as from Eurojust. And I'm very happy to open today's press conference here at Europol. Europol is the European law enforcement agency for cooperation. We are working with member states and international partners to combat all forms of international serious crime, terrorism, and cybercrime. And because of cybercrime, we are here today. We have a very complex case that involved those countries that are present here today. And we will give the floor to each individual representative of our partners. Each representative will give remarks for 2-3 minutes and shed some light on the case from the individual country. And then we will have the opportunity for some questions and answers later. So I would like to give the floor now to the US Attorney Scott W. Brady. Please, your remarks, Mr. Brady.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. Today marks a new milestone in the ongoing fight against transnational organized crime, and we're pleased to announce what we believe is an unprecedented international effort which has dismantled the Gozny malware criminal network. Today, I unsealed a criminal case that was returned by a grand jury in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania against 10 defendants in 5 countries, using the Gozny malware to steal millions of dollars from businesses and financial institutions in the United States, North America, and throughout Europe. And through the cooperation of the countries that are represented here today, a number of these cyber criminals are being brought to justice in courts in the Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, and the United States. So with any prosecution, especially of cybercrime, we ask ourselves the question, how do we most effectively bring criminals to justice? And international law enforcement has recognized that the only way to truly dismantle and disrupt these transnational networks is to do so in partnership. In this case, with the simultaneous prosecution in 4 partner nations, represents a paradigm change in how we investigate and prosecute cybercrime. So this case is about both dismantling and disrupting the infrastructure that facilitates cybercrime and identifying and holding accountable the criminals that are behind these campaigns. In 2016, in partnership with our German colleagues, the Avalanche network was taken down and seized by law enforcement. And this network had millions of malicious domains, hundreds of thousands of IP addresses in over 190 countries, and it also hosted dozens of the largest malware campaigns found in the world. And Gozny, that we're speaking of today, was one of the largest. And while we knew that this takedown and disruption in 2016 was an important milestone, an important step, we also knew that to be truly impactful, that we had to take down the entire conspiracy. And so for the next 2 years, the countries represented here on stage worked shoulder to shoulder in partnership in a worldwide investigation to identify those behind the Gozny conspiracy. And what did we find? We found that Gozny was a highly structured, specialized organized crime network. And each defendant represented in the indictment had a specialized role to play and brought a unique skill set to the conspiracy. And while we've heard about malware scams and conspiracies before, phishing, malware imported onto unsuspecting computers from which criminals steal personal and bank account information and steal money from unsuspecting victims, it was truly the scope of this organization that made this campaign so dangerous. And we identified over 41,000 victims, unsuspecting citizens of European and North American countries who thought they were clicking on a simple invoice or a notification as a part of their business. And instead, they were giving hackers access to their most personal and sensitive information. And these victims included mom-and-pop businesses. They included law firms, international corporations. They included nonprofit organizations that worked with disabled children. Now, when we talk about international cooperation, this is not new. You have heard this announced and discussed here many times. But what we feel this represents is a true collaboration. We know that cybercriminals have a unique agility, and law enforcement has to be equally agile and respond to those changes and that dynamic environment. And so here, what we did that was different was we conducted coordinated searches in multiple countries with our partners. We shared evidence from those searches with transparency that has not been seen before among partner law enforcement. And in doing so, we built criminal prosecutions in the home countries of these defendants based on the laws of those countries. Our goal remains the same as in every case, but here we wanted to ensure that we had the most effective and strongest case that we could build against these cyber criminals. As we know too well, cybercrime is an international problem that requires an international solution. And it's truly a crime without borders. It victimizes people all over the world, and through one simple click, it can cause millions of dollars in loss to individuals and to businesses. And we also know that the criminals and the servers and their organization can literally be anywhere in the world. And so cybercrime represents criminal activity on a size and a scale that we do not see in other areas of criminal activity. And so as a result, the law enforcement response must be equally broad, and it must be equally borderless. And so our response in this prosecution was an investigation in true partnership, a sharing of evidence, and ultimately simultaneous prosecutions. And we believe that this represents the new blueprint and the new paradigm for how we attack cybercrime going forward. I want to thank all of my partners for their shared commitment to seeking justice for the victims of cybercrime and identifying and holding these criminals accountable no matter where they are. And I want to especially thank our hosts, Eurojust and Europol, for that shared commitment, but also for facilitating the relationships which have resulted in this successful prosecution. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Brady. I would now like to give the floor to the Senior Public Prosecutor, Frank Lange, Head of the Central Cybercrime Unit in Verden, Lower Saxony, Germany.
Oh, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Specialized cybercrime units from the Prosecutor's Office in Verden and the Lüneburg Police started together with the investigation in this case. Although we have made good progress, the big breakthrough came when we started the joint and coordinated investigations with our partners who are gathered here in this room. US and German law enforcement, together with Eurojust, Europol, and supported by 37 European and non-European states, were able to achieve this great success. A good and trustworthy cooperation was the key to uncover and dismantle the world's largest infrastructure for operating botnets called Avalanche in late 2016. Avalanche was a worldwide networked botnet infrastructure which provided hosting services for more than 200 cybercriminals. Often they run more than 20 malware campaigns at the same time in this infrastructure. As you heard from Scott, Gosnam was one of the most important of these campaigns. In Germany, most victims were affected by the malware URL Zone, which was able to control 10,000 infected computers at the same time. So we focused the German investigation on this in addition to Avalanche itself. The German police investigation is now completed. During the time, we were able to provide our international partners with evidence to support their own investigations against the offenders. Especially, we prepared all to charge a Ukrainian citizen for the loss of at least 8.7 million euro by 1,691 victims. The Ukrainian colleagues are now able to use this evidence for their prosecution, as they will tell you after me. In addition to those present countries, the second main suspect for URL zone is being persecuted in Azerbaijan using German evidence. In Germany itself, 2 suspects will be charged for money laundering. Here we sit united in one goal. It is not important who presses charges against the offenders. Important is that they are charged anywhere worldwide. We thank our international colleagues very warmly for their great work and the charges they have made. And we are proud being able to support them in their investigations on the basis of trust and cooperation. Thank you for attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Lange. I would now like to ask the first Deputy Prosecutor of Ukraine, Dmytro Storuchuk, head of the Anti-Organized Crime Department.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. In addition to the provided information, I would like to inform you that the Ukrainian law enforcement agencies participate in dismantling the Avalanche network that was used by the international organized crime group for malware attacks, which the United States and Germany representatives have just spoken of. One of the administrators of this criminal network was a citizen of Ukraine. In the course of joint operation aimed at dismantling the network, this administrator resisted law enforcement officers by using firearms. The National Police of Ukraine disarmed and arrested the criminal. During the special operation, nobody was injured. A charge of this fact is already being heard in court. At present, the Ukrainian law enforcement bodies suspect this Ukrainian citizen of having provided cybercriminal with a secure infrastructure that could host and distribute GOZNIM and URL zone malware. That is, he provided cybercriminal with an instrument for committing bank fraud and money laundering. Following efficient cooperation with the United States and Germany law enforcement agencies, the Ukrainian party has notified the citizen of Ukraine of suspicion. After the transfer of additional information and, if possible, the takeover of the United States criminal proceeding, the charges against the citizen of Ukraine will be brought to court. Thank you for your attention.
Our next speaker, Mr. Gorgi Gogatse, Deputy Prosecutor General of Georgia. Your remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the beginning, I would like to thank Europol for inviting me and my colleagues and for giving us a possibility to participate in this press conference. We have the opportunity to share with you Georgia's contribution in dismantling complex, transnational, organized cyber criminal network. I would like to mention that the success we are witnessing today is a result of excellent cooperation between Georgia on one hand and United States, Bulgaria, Moldova, Germany, Ukraine, Europol and Eurojust on the other. This unprecedented international effort enabled us to conduct prosecution against the criminal network members. I'm extremely proud to say that Georgia's contribution in this tremendous cooperation was significant, and it proved to be a valuable partner in Gozmin's cybercriminal network dismantling operation. Allow me to say a few words about the investigation conducted in Georgia. Our proceedings were launched based on the information provided by our US counterparts, according to which two alleged perpetrators residing in Georgia were involved in criminal acts. It was worth mentioning that the investigation was really difficult, and we faced lots of challenges on the way to collect sufficient evidence to prosecute the case. In the result of the cooperation with respective US authorities, Georgian investigation managed to obtain key evidences such as a correspondence between alleged criminals, list of the damaged companies, and interviews of their respective owners, information from US banks, evidence on the financial loss, as well as digital evidence, forensic examination reports, interview records of one of the criminals. All of the aforesaid evidence enabled us to identify the criminal scheme, the leader of the organized criminal group, and his technical assistant, who, together with other members of the criminal group, managed to steal extremely huge amount of sums from the various American companies. The Office of the Prosecutor General of Georgia charged the aforesaid two individuals for a number of crimes such as unauthorized developing, keeping, and spreading of software, unauthorized obtaining, keeping, using, and spreading of computer data, unauthorized access to computer systems, and theft. All of the aforesaid acts were conducted in aggravating circumstances. On May 9, 2019, detention as a measure of constraint was applied against them. Georgia still conducts respective investigative actions on this case, and we believe that we will finalize it successfully. We may consider that this was a perfect example of coordinated work, where difference in legislations were not a barrier for cooperation between us and our counterparts for achieving successful result. I would like to hereby once again express my gratitude towards United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Pennsylvania and FBI's Pittsburgh field office, as well as our counterparts from various states that greatly facilitated the results we achieved. As always, Georgia remains a reliable partner in fighting the crime and will always assist its foreign counterparts in order not to leave the crime without punishment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would now like to ask the Senior Officer of the Criminal Prosecution of the Center for Combating Cybercrime in Moldova, Mr. Yuri Roska.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yuri Roska. On behalf of the General Police Inspectorate of the Republic of Moldova, we would like to express our gratitude to Europol, Eurojust, as well as to all the law enforcement authorities of the countries in which operation took place. Thanks to the effective collaboration among the participating countries, we have been able to achieve excellent results in documenting, investigating, and stopping criminal activities of Gozmin Group members. The Center for Combating Cybercrime of Republic of Moldova has repeatedly demonstrated its efficiency and professionalism in investigating cybercrime not only locally, but also at the international level, as it did in 2016 as part of the Avalanche operation and other high-profile cases. The direct contribution of the Republic of Moldova to this operation was to localize and stop the criminal activities of a member of the network who encrypted ghost-name malware to enable it to avoid detection by antivirus tools on victims' computers. Another specificity of this process consisted in the fact that although the suspect carried out his activities on the territory of Republic of Moldova, the victims were based all across the world. That is why only through effective cooperation at international level was it made possible to obtain the result that we have today. I am convinced that the experience gained in this investigation will positively impact the investigation of other cybercrime cases that we will all have to deal with. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Next remarks are coming from Nikolai Nedelchev, Inspector at the Cybercrime Unit of the General Directorate for Organized Crime in Bulgaria.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Bulgarian Ministry of Interior, I would like to inform you that the Bulgarian authorities became part of this investigation of the ghost-name malware in April 2016, when a fraudulent wire transfer from an injured US company was made to account in Bulgaria. The amount of the transferred money was close to $400,000. Due to the swift reaction and exchange of information, the money was frozen and at a later stage returned to its legal owner in the USA. The Bulgarian company, which received the money, was registered to a third country national and had the role of a financial mule with the aim of cutting the link between the victim and the real receivers of the fraudulent transfer. In the course of the investigation carried out by the US authorities, it was established that the ghost-name malware was utilized to cause the fraudulent wire transfers. Our colleagues from the FBI managed to establish several IP addresses from Bulgaria belonging to members of the ghost-name organized criminal group. We established that they were used by a Bulgarian national named Krasimir Nikolov. The identity of the suspect was also confirmed via other communication tools and monikers that he used at the time. At this point of the investigation, a decision was taken to conduct searches in Bulgaria of the home of Nikolov, together with the homes and offices of other persons and companies related to the case. In total, 7 different addresses were searched in our country. US law enforcement agents were present in some of the places. Nikolov's house was searched on the 8th of September 2016 and led to the discovery of new evidences for his involvement in the ghost-name criminal group and his links with some of the other defendants. All the pieces of evidence were handed over to the US authorities in execution of a request for mutual legal assistance, and Nikolov himself was extradited to the USA in December 2016. I would like to highlight that this operation has shown once again the importance of cooperation between the law enforcement authorities of different countries when countering complex trans-border crimes such as cybercrime. Thank you.
Next remarks are coming from Special Agent in Charge Robert Allen Jones from the FBI Pittsburgh Field Office.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the entire Federal Bureau of Investigation, our International Operations Division, our Cyber Division, and the Pittsburgh Field Division, it is my great honor to lead the cyber investigative team in Pittsburgh who initiated this investigation and relentlessly pursued these cyber criminals across Eastern Europe. For multiple years, the individuals charged today felt that they could steal millions from innocent victims around the world by hijacking websites using malware developed and employed for this purpose. As you know, cyber criminals can victimize countless global victims from anywhere in the world, Adequate law enforcement response depends heavily on a coalition of the willing, like you've heard from today. International cooperation is no longer a nicety, it's a requirement. Working together and sharing experience and evidence, cyber investigative teams here today synchronized law enforcement actions that resulted in prosecutions in 4 of the 5 countries from which these actors operated. In this case, the 10 people charged worked from behind their computers in Russia, Georgia, Moldova, Bulgaria, and the Ukraine. As charged in the indictment, the defendants advertised their specialized technical skills and services on underground Russian language online criminal forums. The Gaznim network was formed when these individuals were recruited from those online forums and came together to use those specialized skills and services in furtherance of the conspiracy. At the Federal Bureau of Investigation, we recognize that the cyber threat is significant, complex, and continually present, and we are dedicated to eliminating transnational organized crime groups and key criminal service providers that pose the greatest threat to the national security and economic security of the United States and our partner nations. Our collective efforts in this case and many others have shown that entire criminal networks are increasingly targetable, and that coalitions like the one that stands before you today are willing and able to find and hold accountable those who conduct illicit activity from behind the perceived anonymity of a computer terminal or the perceived safety of an international border. Our recent successes with the Wall Street Marketplace, Deep Web, Alphabet, and now Gaznim should show that a new collective of cyber investigators are strategically positioned and focused to eliminate these threats whenever and wherever they take root. 5 of the named defendants reside in Russia and remain fugitives from justice at this time. Vladimir Gorin, Konstantin Volchov, Ruslan Katirkin, Viktor Vladimirovich Aryemko, and Farhadrov Ogli Manahin. I want to thank again the diligent law enforcement partners, aggressive prosecutive teams in the US, the Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, and Bulgaria, and both Europol and Eurojust for exceptional coordination and execution. Thank you.
Thank you, Special Agent Jones. I would now like to ask Gabriele Launhardt, Deputy National Member for Germany of Eurojust, to give the remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, as many speakers before me have indicated, good and trustworthy cooperation was essential in this entire operation and dismantling this cyber network. Our work is built on trust, and I would like to thank everybody on behalf of Eurojust for this mutual trust and understanding. Crime nowadays knows no borders, and especially cybercrime is cross-border by nature. With international cooperation, by joining forces, we have, however, shown that this form of crime will not be able to escape justice either, and leading to indictments. In a world where the internet plays a vital role for our economy and social life, the kind of international cooperation we have had in Avalanche sets a new standard for international cross-border judiciary work. We have been able to work together efficiently and learn from each other quickly, leading to this outcome. We should build on this basis for further cooperation and see how we can adapt rapidly as judiciary and law enforcement organizations to continue to deal with these forms of online crime, to prevent harm to our citizens' interests and the development of our online economy. For this reason, cybercrime is one of the main priorities for us at Eurojust. We can rely on a specialized cybercrime expert, keeping investigations in line with the latest technological developments and the use of the European Judicial Cybercrime Network. This kind of international cooperation in Avalanche was perhaps unprecedented, but this is a sign as well that the judiciary and police can and will always cope with however big a criminal organization can be, bringing down its infrastructures. Instrumental in this entire cooperation was a good coordination, to which we could contribute as Eurojust via translations, financial support, and exchange of information and judicial practices. The fact that we, for instance, have liaison prosecutors from the United States and from the Ukraine at Eurojust facilitates the entire process. To sum up, criminals cooperate across border, and we will do the same, so nobody escapes justice. Eurojust will keep playing its crucial role in international judicial cooperation to work for a safe Europe and safe transactions via internet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would now like to ask for our last speaker, speaking on behalf of Europol, Mr. Stevie Wilson, head of the European Cybercrime Center, EC3.
Yeah, and thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge thanks to me today for you coming to Europol, and a huge thanks to my colleagues in international prosecutors and law enforcement for the joint work done in this operation. I think today, for me, shows a clear capability change. Law enforcement prosecutors working on a global basis to tackle transnational criminality. If we look at what happened here, what was Gosnam, what were Avalanche? Cybercrime is a service, as we call it, but for me, for the public, it's a supermarket for cybercrime services. Looking at coders, malware developers, bulletproof hosters, a whole range of the cybercrime service under one roof. And only through that international cooperation can we hope to tackle this. This unprecedented level in these cases for me is inspirational. Working across different legal systems, different policies, different procedures, it shows we are now starting to understand how we can do this. For me, for too long, cyber criminals have exploited this international difference in policy and legislation. And I think what we're now starting to see is people coming together who understand how to pull these investigations together to reach that top-end conclusion. But for me, this, as well as a fantastic operational result, is a huge learning process for us all. We've been able to change our processes, our procedures, and ultimately, I believe these operations have been a catalyst for the better investigation of crime, because ultimately, what does this do? It provides for a safer internet for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stevie. So, after having heard all remarks from our international partners, knowing that this is a very complex, unprecedented operation, if there are any questions regarding the case, I would like you to raise your hand. Any questions?